Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to discuss my build in the InWin A1. Keep watching to find out how it went. Okay, so this is the InWin A1, and those of you that are regular viewers to the channel will know that I've been planning to do this mini ITX build for quite a while now, and I've finally got around to doing it. I have actually done various iterations of it, and I've taken it all apart and I've put it back together and I've been playing around with it, so I've got a really good feel for what this case can offer and how simple and easy it is to work with. To cut straight to the chase, it's a mini ITX case. It isn't easy to work with. Let's get that straight away. It is fiddly. So if you're one of those people that when you're building a PC, you've got slightly larger hands and you find it hard to get into slight nooks and crannies of a motherboard, then don't buy a mini ITX, and certainly don't get the InWin A1. It will cause you many headaches and you will pull out clumps of hair. I actually had hair before I started this review. Like I said, it is a mini ITX. Now the components I've used in it, so let's go through that. I've used the Ryzen 3 2200G, which as most of you probably know by now is an APU with a built-in GPU. Absolutely brilliant for lower end systems. Actually is suitable for gaming in some resolution, 720p, 1080p, depending on the game, and also some of the visual quality. Now to go with that, I was going to go with the stock cooler, but I was thinking because we're slightly limited on space inside this chassis, then let's give it a fighting chance. So we went with the Arctic Freezer 34, which you can actually see the unboxing and the installation video of from the links up here. And the motherboard that we're going to put it all on. Now, because it is again a small chassis, I was slightly concerned about temperatures. And as we know with motherboards, as the temperatures rise, things like VRMs and cooling and quality actually do come to quite a head. And if you've got a lower quality board, as soon as you start applying some heat, you can experience problems. Now, being this is going to be designed as essentially a media machine and a light gaming machine, it needs to be on a lot of the time. It will probably get hot in the room that it's in because it's going to be near the TV and in a kind of family room where there's lots of people, lots of bodies, and higher temperatures in the room than you'd have in maybe an office or something. So this board is a relatively high-end board for the AM4 platform. This is the ASRock Fatality B450 Gaming ITX/AC. Now this board I chose primarily because it's obviously ITX, which was very important because it needed to fit inside that chassis, but also because it has built-in Bluetooth, built-in Wi-Fi, and it's actually a really nice little board. So this makes it a lot easier, and also there's a potential for an upgrade to the upcoming Ryzen 3000 series. Again, we're at that time of the year at the moment. This is kind of mid-June. The CPUs haven't been released yet, and the APUs won't be released for a little while after. So we're not entirely sure how this is going to pan out for the B450 chipset in regards to the Ryzen 3000 chips, but hopefully there should be some upgrade path. So that is the pretty much the components. Also installed, we've got 16 gigs of Corsair DDR4 memory, clocked at a very lowly 2133 megahertz. I was considering putting a slightly higher spec RAM. I had some RAM from Silicon Power, which is the 3200 RAM, which you can see a review of up here. Now, I was seriously considering that, but to be honest with you, the machine's probably going to be used mostly for Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, the occasional game, so RAM clock speed isn't that important. The Corsair 2133 I've had for a long time. It essentially has very little value to me, so in this machine, just tucked away in the family room, is going to be brilliant. So let's take a look at some of the extra cooling. Now, in this chassis, there is actually room for 4 120mm fans, 2 in the base, 1 in the side and 1 at the rear. Now I've chosen to go with a push-pull configuration, so we've got 1 fan in the side and 1 fan in the rear, nothing in the bottom section. For 2 reasons. Again, trying to keep it simple, I've just gone with 2 pretty standard NZXT fans. They're nothing special, they don't even have a PWM header, they're purely DC controlled, but fortunately the ASRock motherboard actually has the auto select, so it will select between PWM and DC current. So those are absolutely fine. So we've got 1 fan in the side, which is pulling air in from the outside, which is then feeding the air supply to the power supply. So we're keeping the power supply nice and cool. Now the power supply that's in here is a 600 watt power supply, and it's I believe it's a bronze rated power supply, so keeping the power supply cool and keeping it within its kind of optimal operating temperatures is going to benefit the entire system and make the power supply more reliable. So the air which isn't being taken away by the PSU is then circulated into the Arctic cooling fan, cooling the APU, and then the hot air which comes out the other side of the heat pipes is then being exhausted straight out of the back by another NZXT fan. So it's a pretty good airflow system. The only slight concern I have is where the PSU is actually exhausting hot air from the top above where the other 120mm fan is input in. So time will tell whether or not it's actually pulling the hot air from the PSU back into the system. I don't think it is at the moment. The fans are actually at quite a low RPM anyway to keep the noise down. So I think it's actually just circulating some air. I don't see it being a problem. And at the moment, unfortunately, you can't see this because it's on the screen here. I've got CPU ID hardware monitor, and currently the motherboard temperature is reading at 38 degrees C, and the CPU is currently idling quite nicely at 32 degrees C. It was at 31, but it's jumped up a little bit. It did actually go to 33. So it's staying around the kind of the very low 30s. So for me, for the Ryzen 2200G, the APU, that's actually a pretty respectable temperature. Again, the airflow in here is actually quite good, and the Arctic cooling cooler is certainly doing its job in there. So let's talk about the actual build itself. Now the build itself, installing the motherboard and getting all the cabling in, actually I did find very tricky, if I'm completely honest with you. There's lots of routing, there's lots of channels, and there's lots of areas you can put cable in. But I've got quite largish hands, and I did find it difficult to put some of the connectors on. One thing in particular is the power supply to the CPU in the top left-hand corner, which with a cooler attached, such as a larger tower cooler, I find it extremely difficult to get any access to it, so it is very tight in that top corner. I have tried it with the stock AMD cooler, the Wraith cooler, and that is a lot easier because it's obviously a lower cooler and you can get more access, get your hand in a little bit easier. Another thing I found particularly challenging was the wiring on this particular board for the RGB connection. So the RGB connection for this RGB at the bottom goes up the back side of the motherboard, and then the actual RGB connection is right at the very top in the top right hand corner of the board if you're looking at it face on. So it's going on a horizontal line across and then plugged in the top, also where the fan connector is as well. And because there's very limited room between the actual CPU fan and the power supply itself, there's probably only about 2 inches in there. Trying to squeeze your fingers in to connect up power supplies, power connector for the fan, and also the AMD RGB LED connection, for me was a little bit too much to bear, and it did resort in all kinds of cuss words being used. So if you are considering doing this and you are short-tempered, certainly think about it, but you might be better off with a micro ATX or a full-size ATX tower if it's going to be that challenging for you. And I'll be honest, it was for me. I've built a lot of PCs over the years, and this one I did find very, very challenging. So moving down on the side underneath that, the RAM sticks, that was absolutely fine. Although again, if you are one of those people who likes to change components in and out, changing the RAM sticks, again, isn't the easiest of things to do. There isn't a great deal of clearance between this kind of top panel of the motherboard and where the RAM sticks are. And the RAM sticks on this board are only released from the top latch rather than the bottom and the top. So to get your fingers in to remove the sticks, again, can be quite challenging. So do bear that in mind. Essentially, I would say with this build, it's designed so that you build it once, put it in place, and you just use it until it dies. That is my opinion. It isn't designed really for people to continually modify and change things. Again, if you're looking at doing that, I would certainly suggest a slightly larger chassis or a more open design. Okay, so there are some of the challenges that have been faced here at Mike's Unboxing. Those things, although challenges and slightly frustrating, are now completely forgotten, because now the system is actually up and running and everything is in place and we've tuned the fans to be very quiet. It is actually an absolute dream to work with, to actually use, to have near you. At the moment, I've got this lavalier mic, so any noise from that you should be able to hear coming through very easily. I'm hearing the wind noise from the PC behind me, and maybe a little bit from the PC over there, which is my video editing PC, but from this side of the room, there's nothing. It is pretty much silent. There's a very, very minimal sound of air travelling out the side of the fan. I can just about pick up, but I'll be very surprised if you guys can actually hear it, because it is exceptionally quiet. It is very well built, it's very heavy, it's got rubberized feet as well, so it plants itself nicely onto the desk, so there's no vibrations coming through it, and I think it actually looks great. There's a lot of people who said, oh, what's this, a new microwave or a new toaster or whatever it is it a kitchen appliance? No, this is a piece of artwork. I know it's one of those things where it's kind of a little bit Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. Me personally, I love it, I love the look of it. I've always liked InWin cases. I think they have great design, they have great build quality, and they're actually really nice to work with. Even though this had its challenges, when it's finished and it's done, it just works, which for me is fantastic. So if I was building this to maybe sell on to somebody, I can build it in the knowledge that once it's built, it's going to be rock solid and there'll be no complaints whatsoever. And some of the other nice features, again, is on the top you've got access to your I/O ports, which is really nice to have, especially if you've got this on a desktop near to you. And also for me, it's got the Qi charger on the top. So when the AirPods are running flat, because we're using the Bluetooth, now that's actually something I haven't yet done. I'm really looking forward to watching a movie in the living room on the big screen with the AirPods in and just enjoying it as a media center. But while we're not using them, we can just stick it on the top and keep our AirPods nice and charged. And if you want to get yourself some AirPods, you can click on the link up here. So there we go. A system which keeps well within its thermal boundaries, considering its compact size. Even under full load, we're looking at temperatures around about 50, 55 degrees. That's with the CPU-Z, the benchmark, the stress test running for probably about half an hour or so. So temperature-wise, it's great. We've run Battlefield 5 on there, had about an hour or so's gaming with that, and again, it's run absolutely flawlessly. No crashes, no stutters. It's been absolutely perfect. So all in all, challenging to build with, but rewarding to own. That would be my conclusion. Let me know what you think about it in the comments section below. If you've got any other questions about this build, please do ask and I will try and answer them to the best of my ability. But in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. This has been the pretty special InWin A1, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.